Hi, this is Kendall Boyson, professional life and recovery coach, and you're listening to Encouragementology, the practice of instilling hope. Hi there. Thanks for joining me. On this show, we're leaning into the uncomfortable yet universal feeling of disappointment and uncovering how to rebuild trust with yourself after life doesn't go as planned. It's that gut punch moment when expectations crash into reality, leaving behind a mess of frustration, doubt, and now what? You might feel like you've been knocked off course, your momentum stalled, and your confidence shaken. But what if, instead of seeing disappointment as a dead end, you viewed it as a detour, a nudge towards something you might have missed if things had gone perfectly the first time? We'll explore how disappointment can chip away at resilience, but also how it can be the very thing that reshapes your perspective and opens doors you didn't even know were there. Together, we'll dig into practical strategies for climbing out of a rut, finding the hidden positives, and learning to cope in ways that strengthen rather than sabotage your self-trust. Because while we can't control every twist and turn, we can choose how we show up when the road suddenly changes. Let's be honest, disappointment isn't just a fleeting feeling. It's layered. Sometimes it's about the situation itself, and other times it's about what it represents: a loss of control, a missed opportunity, or the crumbling of a picture you've been carrying in your mind for days, months, or even years. It's not just, "I didn't get the job," or "this relationship ended." It's the sting of all the energy, hope, and vulnerability you've invested. And here's where disappointment gets tricky. It can quickly erode trust in yourself. You might start questioning your judgment. Why didn't I see this coming? Or second guess your abilities. Maybe I'm not as capable as I thought. That self-doubt plants seeds that, if left unchecked, can slow your momentum and keep you from taking the next step forward. The ripple effects don't stop there. Disappointment, if not processed, can seep into unrelated parts of your life, making you less willing to take risks, more guarded in relationships, or overly cautious in your goals. This is your brain's way of trying to protect you, but overprotection can be just as limiting as recklessness. What's important to remember is this: disappointment is a sign you cared. You invested yourself, your time, and your hope in something that mattered to you. That's not a weakness. That's bravery. The key is learning how to move through that sting without letting it define you or keep you stuck. We've all been there. Something we wanted doesn't pan out, and suddenly we're face to face with that heavy, sinking feeling. But here's the question: how do you usually handle it? Let's find out. Think back to your last real disappointment, big or small. As I walk you through these questions, don't overthink them. Just notice your honest, gut-level response. Do you retreat or rebound? What I mean is, when you hit a wall, do you withdraw to lick your wounds? Or do you start looking for another way forward? Be honest with yourself. There is no test here, no winner, just learning. Do you personalize it or put it in perspective? Meaning, is your first thought, "I'm not good enough," or "this was one outcome of many, and it's not the end of my story"? Do you cling or release? What I mean is, do you keep replaying what went wrong over and over and over? can you accept it and let it go? Sounds easier said than done, right? Do you act quickly or do you sit with it? Some people jump into action as a way to avoid feeling hurt. Others get stuck and lose momentum. Which one are you? Here's the thing. None of these responses make you a good or bad handler of disappointment. They just give you insight into your default mode. And if you know your default, you can start making intentional shifts when it's no longer serving you. So as we move forward, keep this picture of yourself in your mind. How you've been dealing with disappointment up until now might be shaping more than just your mood. It could be influencing your confidence, your resilience, and the opportunities you see next. Before we talk about any kind of action plan, I want to spotlight this thoughtful piece from Psychology Today on what it really takes to bounce back after disappointment. Lorianne Oberlin gives us a balanced approach, not rushing past the pain, but also not getting stuck there. It's about moving through loss in a way that leads to more clarity, compassion, and yes, new possibilities. How we respond to disappointment has a lot to do with our upbringing, according to the Harvard Business Review. When the bar is low and people eschew risks, they bypass disappointment by underachieving. Others dodge it by overachieving, with unattainably high expectations. Parents who strove for perfection likely created insecurities, whereas having a good enough mindset provided a more secure life base. What does this mean as people contemplate sad events, unanticipated results, or hard realities? Our developmental history is not our destiny. Processing disappointment with introspection helps. Rumination, not so much. Here are some cognitive behavioral tools to help you refocus after experiencing lost dreams or disappointments. Slow down and embrace change. Haemin Sunim, a Korean Buddhist monk, developed a following through prolific, pithy wisdom. In When Things Don't Go Your Way, Zen wisdom for difficult times, and the things you can see only when you slow down, how to be calm in a busy world. Readers gain reassurance and inspiration to eschew the exhausting daily treadmill society beckons them to adopt. First, slow down. People can take cues from rituals such as Shiva, where mourners sit to reflect after losing a loved one, and weddings where couples gather with friends, good food, fun, and then escape to rest and settle into their voluntary new dynamics. Yet much change is involuntary, afflicted upon us. Do not lament the world has changed, writes Sunim. Do not resent that people have changed. Evaluating the present through the memories of the past can cause sadness. Whether you like it or not, change is inevitable. Embrace and welcome it. Reframe and adopt a new perspective. The Journal of Clinical Psychology found that reframing a situation, taking what one deems negative or unwelcomed and viewing it from a different lens, can significantly reduce stress and anxiety. Steps to reframe thoughts include challenging them to see if there's truly evidence to back them up. Was the thought ignited by or flamed by others, social media, or biased news reports? Has anxiety grown over time and culminated in a truly bothersome perception? Flip the thought and see how it resonates. Studies in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology found that accepting negative emotions, habitual acceptance, leads to better mental health. Lean into radical acceptance. Mr. Rogers wrote, "Often, when you think you're at the end of something, you're at the beginning of something else." Sometimes we're not ready to plod through next chapters, but would rather relegate them to the remainder bin, where no longer popular books go. Hold on. There's a technique used in dialectical behavioral therapy, or DBT, called radical acceptance. Radical acceptance means not that we agree with a reality, but that we don't fight against it. We accept what's happened, because when emotions otherwise escalate, we face even more collateral damage and suffering. Radical acceptance occurs when we extend kindness to ourselves. Forgiveness extends kindness to others. We accept the painful or undesirable situation outside of our control and resist the temptation to disconnect from it. This doesn't mean that we remain passive, have no agency, or must approve of tough stuff. Use the acronym RAIN. Recognize, allow or accept a current circumstance, investigate what's happening in your mind and body, and nurture yourself with self-compassion. Move a body, move a mind. Noticing people with illness, injury, trauma, and exhaustion, Naïd de Beljan wrote Soothe, restoring your nervous system from stress, anxiety, burnout, and trauma to help us regulate our nervous system. De Beljan delves into body sensing, breath work, rest, and movement, especially with her experience as a yoga and Pilates instructor. You can't afford to feel overwhelmed, for there is never enough time to tend to yourself. So simply say, "I can't think about that right now," or "I'll deal with this at the end of the day," she writes. The Soothe program teaches that bodies operate in rhythms, from electrical brainwave frequency to the flow of blood, responses of hormones, and the release of synovial fluid in the joints. This slow movement of the lymphatic system carries what we don't need away. We must move. When we experience emotions that can manifest in our bodies in the form of tension, pain, or other symptoms, somatic movement can help us to release these physical symptoms and reconnect with our bodies in a more meaningful way. Use affirmations. If we wake up feeling disillusioned, what do you reach for? Studies have shown that self-affirmations decrease health-deteriorating stress, lower rumination, and increase academic achievement. Positive affirmations can be chosen to motivate self, encourage positive changes in one's life, or boost self-esteem. If a person frequently finds themselves getting caught up in negative self-talk, positive affirmations can be used to combat these often subconscious patterns and replace them with more adaptive narratives. And nurture plants and walk amid nature. Great idea. Ambra Burrows published in the Journal of Public Mental Health how green spaces improve both mental and physical health, reduce pain, relieve anxiety, and reduce depression risk. Whether it's a visit to a well-known botanical garden or your own, a public park, lake, ocean, or other body of water, or a walk along a tree-lined street on a suburban or city sidewalk, place yourself outdoors. Gardening, listed in most mobile apps as exercise, may not burn voluminous calories, but it does force bending, stretching, and movement in the hands, arms, torso, back, and legs. All told, there are at least 6 attainable strategies here to move beyond disappointment. When people engage into new thoughts and activities, they become less available for regret and rumination. They change what they can and gradually let go of what they cannot. So in a nutshell, Oberlin's writing reminds us that bouncing back starts with rest, not pressure. Don't you love that? It's okay to slow down and let yourself feel before trying to rebuild. So let's revisit some main points. Pause and reset. When disappointment strikes, give yourself space to process before jumping back into action. Reframe your story. Lean into radical acceptance. You didn't choose how things went, but you can choose how you respond. It's less about denying reality and more about building a new narrative with kindness at the center. Let self-talk shape your future. Use affirmations and self-kindness from "I failed" to "I'm learning and still moving forward." And body and breath help too. Movement, rest, or ritual can help recalibrate your nervous system when your mind is still working through what happened. Think of this as an emotional tune-up, not a full engine overhaul. Even small shifts in mindset or routine can pave the way forward. We've talked about how disappointment can shake you and even cause you to question yourself. But now let's create a plan to rebuild trust with the most important person in your life, you. Get a pen, pull out your notepad, note app, whatever you want to do. Let's go to step 1. Name the letdown without the extras. This is going to be tough for you. Think about your most recent disappointment and describe it as if you were reporting the weather. Just the facts. No drama. Can you imagine a weather person? It is going to be hot today. 90 degrees. Can you possibly even wrap your head around that? No, they just report the weather. This helps you see the event without letting emotions add unnecessary weight. Ask yourself, what actually happened? What's my proof for each part of this story? What am I assuming without evidence? That's a huge one. If you're still putting in the what ifs, that's what you're doing. You're assuming without evidence. Step 2, separate the event from your identity. Your setback is something that happened, not a definition of who you are. Trust starts to erode when we connect every letdown to our own self-worth. I'm a failure, right? We've heard it or said it. So ask yourself, am I making this about who I am or just what happened? What would I say to a friend if this happened to them? Step 3, spot the hidden gain. Even the hardest disappointment can have silver linings, new opportunities, lessons, or relationships. So ask yourself, what did this teach me about myself? What am I now free to do or explore because of this? Step 4, ready to make a micro promise? Don't rush into a huge goal. Rebuild trust by starting small. Something you can and will follow through on this week. Here's some examples. I will write for 10 minutes every morning. I will walk outside 3 times a day. Maybe even take my shoes off and put my feet in the grass. Follow through, then acknowledge it out loud. I said I would, and I did. Step 5, protect your momentum. Future disappointments will happen. But you can meet them with a healthier mindset by tracking your progress and celebrating small wins. Ask yourself, what's one way I can measure progress, not perfection? How will I celebrate when I keep a promise to myself? That has to be personal, but I will say an accountability partner is amazing. Now, this could be your significant other, could be a best friend, could be just someone that you've connected with and shared some goals. Talking it out and saying, let me tell you where I am, and let me tell you what I feel is going right and what I'm still struggling with. This can help keep you accountable and on track. Before we move into journaling, I found a refreshingly uplifting piece that flips disappointment on its head. The idea is called lemonading. A bit of attitude plus a little emotional agility. It's not about denying your feelings, but leaning into the awkward, the sad, even the frustrating, and adding a twist of hope, humor, and a move forward. Ready for a little lemonade? You have two major options when you're struggling with something: wallow in it or try to look on the bright side. Choosing the second option, or lemonading, may make you more resilient and happier overall, so that you can still enjoy your life when things are challenging. That's the major takeaway from research published in Frontiers in Psychology. The study researchers analyzed data from more than 500 adults during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic and broke them down into two groups based on personality traits. One group had higher levels of playfulness and the other had lower levels. The researchers found that while both groups had a realistic view of what was happening during the pandemic, the more playful group, also dubbed the lemonading group, was more optimistic about the future and better at problem solving. They even managed to enjoy day-to-day activities more despite the chaos happening around them. Basically, when life gave them lemons, they made lemonade. While some people are naturally more playful than others, experts say it's possible to hack your brain to add more lemonading to your life so that you can make the best out of whatever obstacles come your way. Lemonading is slightly different from seeing the glass half full. At its core, lemonading is about having a good attitude, but it's a little more complicated than just trying to be positive. Lemonading is about having clear-eyed optimism about the challenges you're facing while also trying to be positive about what's next. Think of it as turning lemons into lemonade while staying fully aware that you're working with lemons, not oranges. Lemonaders aren't deluded. They acknowledge risks and challenges just as realistically as others. People who practice lemonading also feel vulnerable and isolated sometimes. What sets them apart is their ability to be realistic about what's happening around them while still thinking of positive things in the future. They don't buy into toxic positivity, but they manage to be upbeat. Lemonaders are also good at tweaking their behaviors and trying to be creative in how they navigate hardships. Ultimately, they feel more joy and satisfaction with their lives than people who don't have this approach. How to work more lemonading into your life. Are you ready? Number 1, acknowledge your feelings and then try to reframe them. Things will inevitably happen in life that upset you, and it's important to acknowledge your feelings instead of brushing them off. But instead of assuming that things will continue to be bad, give yourself other options. Ask yourself, is there another way to look at this? What is the best case, worst case, and likely scenario? Look at the situation as it is, and then focus on what you can do about it, if anything. For example, if you were laid off, but you haven't been happy in your job for months, what could be good about this? You don't need to find the silver lining in everything, but sometimes looking at things through a different lens can make a big difference. Finding balance is crucial. Don't suppress emotions, but aim to problem solve in a productive way. Number 2, come up with a go mantra. As we've mentioned, positive affirmations can help, but they can feel cheesy. Instead, come up with a simple mantra like, I got this, or talk to yourself like a coach. Hey, you've got this. Using your own name in self-talk can make it feel more personal and motivating. Come on, Kendall, you've got this. Number 3, don't discount the value of dark humor. Even under tough times or real hardship, it's possible to find humor in other aspects of life. You can try to laugh about what you're struggling with, like saying to yourself, wow, I thought things couldn't get worse. Dark humor can help you acknowledge the problem while finding some joy. Number 4, do the opposite of what you're tempted to do. It's easy to sink into a funk, but sometimes you need to push yourself in the opposite direction. If you've been isolating, get dressed up and go out. The change of pace may help you feel more positive or at least neutral rather than continuing to spiral. Number 5, shake up your routine. Routines can be comforting, but they can also feel monotonous. Mixing things up can help you see life from a fresh perspective and even trigger dopamine, the brain's feel-good chemical. It could be as simple as trying a new coffee, taking a different route, or rearranging your space. This builds flexible thinking, which can help you navigate future disruptions with more ease. And number 6, focus on what's in front of you. People tend to be obsessed about the future when something bad happens, but focusing on the present can shift your mindset. Pay attention to how deeply you engage in activities, and at the end of the day, swap how productive was I to what moments of fun did I have. This intentional shift can help you spot and savor the small positives in your day. If eliminating doesn't click for you right away, that's okay. It's a skill that takes practice. The key is not to simply think more positively, but to actively imagine and pursue positive possibilities while maintaining realistic awareness of challenges. So in a nutshell, here's what eliminating is all about and why psychological research says it's actually a great tool for resilience. You don't have to pretend everything's fine, but you balance your hard feelings with a gentle shift in perspective. Think, this sucks, and I can still make something sweet from it. It's also about noticing the disappointment, then finding something even small to smile about. That helps keep your brain moving from stuck to creative. Those who eliminate their challenges tend to bounce forward more easily, stay playful, and figure out how to do new solutions faster, even when the recipe has changed. Isn't that such a clever and kind way to approach our hardest moments? Let's take a pause and give you space to unpack what you've been carrying. The purpose here is not to wallow, but to get honest about how disappointment is showing up for you, what it's teaching you, and how you might shift your approach moving forward. Take out your pen, your paper, open your journal, pull out your note app. Prompt 1. Naming it. Think of a recent disappointment, big or small, that's still lingering in your mind. Write down exactly what happened, as factual as possible. Stick to the what and leave out the why for now. This helps you step back and see it more objectively. Prompt 2. Feeling it. Now, describe how it made you feel in the moment. Were you frustrated, hurt, angry, embarrassed? Write it out without censoring yourself. Identifying your emotional response is key to understanding what you actually need to heal. Prompt 3. Your default response. When disappointment hits, what's your usual pattern? Do you immediately distract yourself? Do you spiral into self-blame? Do you withdraw from others? Get curious about your automatic reactions. Prompt 4. Lessons and adjustments. Looking at the situation, what, if anything, might you do differently next time? Did your expectations need adjusting? Could you have communicated differently? Could you have prepared yourself for multiple possible outcomes? Prompt 5. Silver linings and open doors. Even if it's hard to see in the moment, what possible good could come from this disappointment? Could it free up your time for something else? Could it teach you a skill or a strength you didn't realize you had? Could it be redirecting you towards something better? And prompt 6, rebuilding trust with yourself. One of the most important parts of moving forward is knowing you can count on yourself again. What's one step you can take this week that proves to you that you keep showing up, even when things don't go as planned? Encourage yourself to revisit these answers in a week or even a month. You might be surprised at how differently you see this same situation once time, perspective, and growth have worked their magic. And don't forget, if you want to dig deeper, check out the 5-day journaling companion in the show notes. Learn more about yourself with every intentional thought. Before we close today's conversation, I wanted to share a refreshingly honest reflection that feels like it was spoken directly to us. In this clip, Steve Harvey sheds light on what disappointment can actually motivate inside us. Not just a reaction to the letdown, but a spark for renewed clarity and direction. He reminds us that when we lean into the hard stuff, disappointment doesn't crush us. Sometimes it reconfigures what comes next. Now, let's listen in.
I want to talk to you today about disappointment, because I think that we all have to grapple with disappointment from time to time. The problem with disappointment is that disappointment also, if you don't understand it, can turn so ugly so fast. Too many people allow disappointment to turn into resentment. So many people think that this disappointment for them symbolizes the end. When you allow for disappointment to turn into resentment, and you allow disappointment to turn into the final verdict, you're losing what disappointment actually can become for you. And I want you all to start looking at disappointment as motivation. How many times have you been faced with something that was disappointing? Let's say you go in to get a job and you're on your last interview, and I have been in this position, man. I was trying to get an insurance job one time years ago. And I went in and I had gone through about 3 or 4 interviews. I was at my final interview and I said, man, I'm about to get this job, man. Get my little family together. I'll be all right. And got to that interview and they told me no. That disappointment for me was gut-wrenching. I actually got in my car, my little 72 Chevy, and I was driving off, man. And tears was in my eyes when I got up on the freeway and I drove back and I looked back over at that big building with that big, powerful name on it. And I had gone through 4 interviews and all of a sudden I was so disappointed in not getting hired. But you know what I learned to do though? From that moment on, I turned all my disappointment into motivation. I said, okay, I use it as a challenge. Okay, I'll show you. From the time my teacher told me that you ain't gonna never be nothing, that there's no way they'll put somebody like you on TV because you have a stuttering problem and you can't even talk. But who are you who is issuing out this disappointment? Because you're not gonna make me resent you, and you're not gonna cause me to think that you're denying me this opportunity or you handing me this bad news of disappointment. I'm not going to allow you to be my final verdict. You are not going to be the person who is the author of my destiny. You are not it. That belongs to God, not you. And I will not give that to anyone. So when you're facing disappointment, do not hand that disappointment over to the person who gave it to you in the form of empowerment. Do not allow them to control your destiny that causes you to go into such resentment that you become bitter, that all of a sudden now all you think about is that. You don't have to do that. They are not the author of your future. That belongs to God and only God. Don't let them trip you up by tripping you out. Now, I've had shows canceled, gigs taken. I've been fired from radio. I've been all of that. Oh, I've had some disappointing setbacks. And I just quietly say to myself, you ain't my God. You who think you have the power by telling me no, by turning me down, by refusing me, by voting against me, by telling me that I don't have what it takes. No. It's just because you don't know. Because you don't know what God really has for me. And that ain't your fault. So why bear resentment for these people? Because they are not the author of your destiny. And don't you dare give them that. You take that disappointment and you use it as the motivation. I feel sorry for people who tell me no, because you know what I know? I know they just don't know. And I end up somehow, through God's grace and mercy, showing them all. Keep the right attitude, y'all. God got something for you through all your disappointment.
If you want to share encouragementology with a friend who needs to know they're not alone in this journey of self-discovery, you can visit encouragementology.com or anywhere you stream your content to receive this episode and all others. Check out the show notes for the 5-day journaling companion and follow us on Facebook and Instagram for additional encouragement throughout the week. So I challenge you. Look at disappointment not as a roadblock, but as a recalibration. Ask yourself what this experience is teaching you and how you can use it to strengthen your trust in yourself. Every setback can hold a seed for growth if you're willing to plant it. I know you can do it. Thank you for listening to Encouragementology with Kendall Boyson, where we find positive ways to handle some of life's challenges.
I stumbled through until the path was clear. That's when I found you and how I